in the ancient, divided heart of Aranthia, the towering spires of the elite cast long, cold shadows over those forgotten in the dust. Among them was Aelian, a man whose only wealth was the hunger of a wife and child he could no longer protect, driven by the quiet desperation that only a father knows. He reached for a single bag of grain in the bustling market, a momentary theft that would cost him his freedom. Chased down by the ironclad guards of the city, Aelian's fate took a darker turn than any dungeon's cell. Noticed for his raw strength and the fire in his eyes, he was sold like livestock to a merchant of blood, a man who harvested souls to fuel the brutal spectacle of the great arena. In one afternoon, Aelian ceased to be a husband and a father. He became the property of the games, destined to fight for the very people who had let him starve. The road to the arena was paved with iron, but the heavens had other plans. Under a sky bruised with fury, a sudden tempest erupted, drenching the world in a blinding deluge of rain and thunder. A bolt of lightning struck the earth with the force of a falling star, flipping the wagon in a roar of splintering wood, thrown into the freezing mud. Aelian lay dazed as the smoke of the wreckage cleared. A guard lunged through the storm to reclaim his prize. But the desperation that once drove Aelian to steal now fueled a savage strength. He overpowered his captor in the mire and vanished into the darkness. A fugitive reborn from the thunder, lost to the rhythm of his own heartbeat. Aelian fled through the wilderness until the scorched earth gave way to a hidden sanctuary. At the edge of a shimmering oasis, he collapsed, drinking deeply from the cool water and washing the grime of the mud from his weary face. Finding refuge in the shadows of a nearby cave, he finally let sleep claim him, only to be jolted awake by a low, guttural growl. A massive lion stood at the threshold, its amber eyes fixed on the intruder. But as Aelian braced for the end, he saw the beast falter. A jagged thorn was buried deep in its paw, driven by a sudden kinship of suffering. With a steady hand, he drew the thorn from the beast's flesh, the tension breaking in a shared breath of relief. That night, the predator and the fugitive found a strange peace, sleeping side by side in the cradle of the stone, seeking to repay the man who had mended its flesh. The lion slipped from the cave and onto the trade road. With a single thunderous roar, it scattered a terrified seller, claiming a basket of fruit to bring back to its savior. By the time it returned, the sanctuary of the cave had been breached. The guards had already shackled Aelian in cold iron. As the great cat lunged to defend the only human who had shown it kindness, the air filled with heavy, weighted hemp. Ambushed and overwhelmed, the king of the wilderness was dragged down by a sea of nets, bound for the very spectacle it had once roamed free from. Cast into the centre of the great arena, Aelian stood alone as the heavy iron gates ground open, releasing a shadow of golden fury. A hungry lion charged with the speed. But as the audience leaned in for the kill, the beast suddenly halted, in a silence that stunned the thousands watching. The predator lowered its head, gently licking the hand that had once mended its pain. From the royal deck, the king watched in disbelief, wanted to know the truth. Summoned to the throne, Aelian spoke of the cave and the thorn, his voice steady with the truth of their bond. Touched by such rare courage, the king gave the command that the great beast was returned to the sanctuary of the deep jungle. And Aelian, the thief who had found a friend in a lion, was stripped of his chains and named a guardian of the palace. Clad in the armor of a palace guardian, Aelian finally turned his back on the arena and walked toward the small hut he had once struggled to feed. As he crossed the threshold, the fear in his wife's eyes vanished. replaced by a joy that words could barely contain, by the warmth of their hearth. He spoke of the lightning, the cave, and the beast that had spared his life. In the quiet of their simple home, the shame of a thief was washed away by the pride of a hero. As the first light of dawn touched the thatch of their roof, Aelian was pulled from a dream of golden eyes and a basket left in the dust. Waking with a start, he ignored his wife's soothing words and stepped out into the crisp morning air. There, resting against the weathered wood of his door, sat a cluster of sun-ripened fruit, a mirror of the vision that had just vanished from his mind. Beside the basket, pressed deep into the cooling sand, was the unmistakable weight of a massive porpoise. Looking toward the distant horizon, Aelian caught the fleeting silhouette of a golden mane fading into the morning mist. He didn't need to follow it. He knew who it was.